Hi everyone, hope you're really well. Welcome to 2026. Hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and New Year's break. I tuned out, it was absolutely wonderful, and I'm glad the markets did what we thought it might and not do a thing, which is great. Events over the last 48 hours might change some things, but this will go out to I think all groups today as well, the full session. But 2026 brings new flows, new eyeballs, new capital allocators, and the geopolitical side of things right now with Venezuela and elsewhere is going to bring a certain new energy, I think, to hard money and these markets, but also the United States markets. I think this is where you want to be focused right now. I mean, you could look at Venezuela and start buying up some real estate once things stabilizes over there, something silly like that. But in general, I think this is a really good spot for Bitcoin to be. And so far, performance has been quite admirable. We're just climbing that wall of worry. It's going about its business. That said, we are now approaching some interesting times in terms of the US markets now reopening. So we've got 14 hours, 46 minutes until the stock exchange opens in the US. Futures will obviously open a little bit later tonight. We're going to see how things roll out. I'm not going to make any predictions. My sense is that this will actually be quite good for markets, because what the overall situation will be is there's been inflation fears obviously for some time. If the Venezuelan oil situation is no longer uncertain and it's put into the hands or the oversight of the United States in the region, suddenly oil dominance goes towards the United States. Now, with more oil supply being unlocked, the odds of inflation remaining high are quite small. So that's all part of the game here, the game of chess. I could also dive in a little bit deeper about the shocks that will go out elsewhere, which I kind of want to a little bit as we go through. But more oil in the system is good, brings down prices. Energy demand and supply drives inflation globally. So this is very, very important. This puts a lot of now pressure on China, Russia, and also Saudi Arabia, and even Iran too on the back end of that. But this is a very key chart to watch. If the price of oil continues to go down, this is actually very, very good for risk assets, because it signals that the Fed will have to cut. Inflation expectations are going to move lower, looser monetary policy, also seeing debt scoot higher as well. So this is actually quite a good situation to be in. The Venezuelan risk in the Southern Caribbean also removes a lot of issues, potentially around the war scenario. It's likely why gold has also been very, very strong. Doesn't explain the RIP, which is more central banks buying gold, but the behavior of gold often reflects fears around war. When it spikes like it does, spikes around fears of war or issues around supply chains. So this is all working its way through. Now, this doesn't mean that the fun is about to stop. There is talk around Greenland. There is more talk around other areas where the US might want to flex its interest now that they've shown that they can do this, which we all knew they could, and they've had eyes on doing this for quite some time as well. More back on the Fed here though. Currently we have where is it? When's the next one? 28th of January. So we've got a bit of time before the next Federal Reserve rate cut comes through. 82.8% is likely they're going to keep it on hold. These numbers can fluctuate quite a bit. These are the futures expectations of whether the Fed will cut rates or keep them on hold or raise rates. So far, no changes. I think whatever happens here in terms of the price of oil and inflation, probably going to let it run its course over the next 20 to 30 days before this happens, and then we'll see what goes from there. All right, let's crack into some of the fun stuff. Then we're going to get into some charts and also some data around Bitcoin. But this is how I see this playing out going forward, and also the rationale. I think if you approach this fourth turning and this period of time, just in general, emotionally, it is going to crush you mentally, because there's so much disruption. The relative peace and prosperity and calm that has been in the world and in the West broadly since World War II, in this post-World War II era, international law, all that which you're seeing being thrown around a lot, was solely made and enforced by the United States, being the world's only superpower and hegemon. There was the Soviet Union in there in between, but that fell over at some point as well. But the US has protected that space and enforced the UN, international law, the global reserve currency, and they are the largest military power. in the world.